Welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by Advance Auto Parts. Now our project, RSX Resurrection's back in the shop, but I gotta tell you, it's come a long way. Yeah. Brian, man, we started out with putting a little horsepower into the brake systems. We put the drilled and slotted rotors on with the new pads. I mean, you know, we started with brake horsepower before we messed with anything else. That was a pretty good choice.
Absolutely, and we did some old school power upgrades too. So we started with those fuel injectors that are not only flowing more fuel, they're actually dispensing the fuel properly now in the right pattern.
That's for sure. You remember those spray patterns, how important it was getting it in there?
Yep.
Then we went right after the suspension system. Remember we put those iBox springs in there, we lowered it, but the key was we used those Monroe struts all the way around all four corners, and I was surprised it rides really, really nice.
And it handles well. And you know, we're kind of doing this old school, right? So we're not bolting on superchargers and turbochargers. We put that killer cold air intake on, and then the awesome header and the full exhaust system all the way back. We're flowing a lot more air in, better fuel dispensation, and more air out. Definitely power.
That did a great job. You know, but we had a problem. We had a clutch issue. So we went ahead and replaced the whole clutch, the master cylinder, the slave cylinder. Man, we got those tires smoking. That led to another issue.
Yeah, that was a fun drive. We got that rear caliper smoking. You know, I did the test that you told us to do where I tried the bleeder valve and that caliper didn't move. I knew we had to replace it all.
I'll tell you what, that's a common issue across the board. Those mechanical calipers back there with the e-brake built in. So that was a good upgrade. And then we turned our attention to the drivetrain. I mean, the drive axles alone. I mean, we went after that because we needed new drive axles. Bam, ball joints. So now we got not only drive axles, we got our suspension upgraded. I mean, this thing's come a long way, man. It's awesome.
It's all but new, but just a little bit more love to get this thing really right.
Yeah, and you know, this one's pretty obvious. We're going to tackle the AC at this point, and we don't need much diagnosis on this one.
No, we don't.
Take a look right down here. What'd you find?
Well, I'll tell you what, right here it looks like there's a lot of corrosion, maybe cracking on the condenser. So I think we probably want to check some refrigerant levels and just see what kind of pressure we might have in here, because clearly there's been damage. And it's actually great that this front grille is off so we can get a good look at this.
It's almost cheating it, and I'm going to hook up some gauges just to be safe, but I don't think there's much in this system. And why am I thinking that? Because you see the leak right there?
Yeah.
And if you look on the gauges right here, they're reading 0. So we're safe to go ahead and start taking it apart.
No static pressure at all. We don't need it running for this test. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start getting my side out.
And that's a good look too. You know, static pressure is pretty cool because air conditioning and refrigerant's usually around ambient temperature when the car is off, and the car is off right now. So if you hooked up your gauges and it's 80 degrees, you should see about 80 psi on both sides of the system. If you didn't, like 0 like ours, you know you have no refrigerant whatsoever. I'm going to pop these hoses off and give you a hand, Brian.
Okay, looks like there's just 2 line bolts right here and then 2 top mounting bolts, so it should come out pretty readily.
All right.
I've got this one loose. I'm going to get my mounting bolt loose right down here.
And I feel like I'm cheating, man. We don't have any bumper on this thing or front end. I mean, if you're going to do an evaporator or a condenser.
That's the time and the way to do it right here.
Right. Yep. This is the way to do it. Yeah, condenser sitting right there. I mean, imagine we'd have to take the whole front bumper, the whole front clip off to get this off, and or probably remove the radiator, but you know, we'll go ahead and just snake it out of here like this.
Yep.
I'm taking my bottom line off. You got one at the top there?
Yeah, I got one at the top. Let me get a couple turns on this line, and we're golden.
Like you about got it off
Okay,
there?
that's it. Yep, she's loose.
Perfect, yep. Like I was saying, this thing's like the front line defense here. If you can work yours out, I'll slip mine by the headlight right here.
Okay.
And then get your grommets. I'm right.
Wow.
Down there. Is your grommet down there?
Yep, I'm good. It stayed.
Perfect. Oh, look at that.
Yeah. I think we're due for a new condenser.
That's for sure. Here we got a brand new one right here. Brackets on my side. The radiator's not in too good a shape. I haven't had an overheating problem, but hey, we may see that in the future.
We are going to run it pretty hard.
Yeah, that's for sure. Put your side in first.
Okay, I'm in.
All right, tip mine down. This is almost too easy. It's not fair having the front end of the car.
You got that right.
All right.
Set right down in the grommet.
In the grommet spot. You good in yours there?
Yep. Now, if you're doing this at home,
there you go. Look at that.
You don't have the help of a buddy. You may want a piece of cardboard here just to protect the backside as you're going in, but we're actually in good shape.
O-ring for your back one.
Thank you. Yeah, I need that O-ring. Perfect. You got to use these.
And I'm going to start on my top bolt mount here, and then what I'll do is I'll switch down to my O-ring down there. Make sure you put new O-rings in there.
You got a little PAG oil on these, right?
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect.
There you go. Perfect. Look at that.
Okay.
All right. I'll go down here and work on mine, get my new O-ring installed. And then it's just a matter of, you know what we have to do? We got to make sure that we evacuate this system.
Yeah.
At least 30 minutes to an hour, man. This thing's been open for a while with that broken. If you don't evacuate it, you're going to get moisture in the system. It's going to cause corrosion. It could freeze up, all kinds of problems. And then we'll just recharge it. We'll look at the specifications, put the charge in there. Yep. Man, we're going to be riding cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be great.
It's awesome. All right, I'm going to get mine wrapped up.
Hey fellas, what's up?
Hey, Eddie.
Eddie, awesome, man. Could have been better timing. Folks, this is Eddie Williams from Williams Paint and Body, locally in town. Eddie, we're working on a project, RSX Resurrection, man. It's mechanically sound, but the body's a dud.
Really excited about the performance, but we need some icing on this cake, man.
Can you help us out, man? You got a vision?
Some icing, yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your vision?
Well, how about a body kit? Set it down a couple of inches, maybe. Get that door off of there for sure. That's not going to look too good under Shiny Sickens paint. And Corvette orange.
Nice.
Maybe a little carbon fiber custom paint on the front splitter.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, we'll
Make it look good.
Yep, we got it lowered already. We actually got these panels right here from Advanced Auto Parts, and Advanced Salvage is going to help us out with some of the panels. Question for you, can you get it done in a week?
Absolutely.
Man, we're going to put the pressure on you and see how it comes out.
It's going to be a busy week.
That's for sure.
All right.
Not a problem.
Awesome. Well, you want to be with us next week because we're going to hold Eddie to his word. RSX is going to come back looking like new with Corvette orange, Brian.
Yeah, it is.
You know what? I'm going to head over to Bernie's for the Performance Playbook of the Week.
Stay with us on Tech Garage, presented by Advanced Auto Parts. You got your work cut out for you, buddy.
That's for sure.
We can handle it.
Welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by Advanced Auto Parts. Well, we were talking about air conditioning, and the only air condition Josh Hart has is 285-mile-an-hour air flowing over his head. Josh, that stuff looks hot.
It is extremely hot. The only air conditioning I have is a little plug in the back of my helmet, which gives me a little bit of fresh air.
Tell me a little bit about your safety equipment.
Multi-layer fire suit, Hans device, fire protection on my hands, all over my body.
And there's also a strap on the helmet. What's that all about?
This actually connects my chin height to my lap belt, which prevents a lot of head movement.
Now, head movement. I see some padding in there and also a big harness. Get violent in there?
Tire shake is probably the most violent, and it's like a sledgehammer hitting you in the back of the head in a split second.
I bet it is. Now, if you do get into one of them emergency situations, what's your protocol? What actually do you do?
Typically, you will cut the mags, which is eliminating the spark, back down the fuel pressure, and throw the chutes or grab the handbrake.
And just pray, hey, we're coming to a stop.
Absolutely.
Hey, Drew's over in the shop, and we talked air condition today. He's got some aftermarket air condition components that we can install on some performance cars.
This is a 55 Chevy that came in, and we are installing a aftermarket air conditioning system in it. The new compressor, the dryer, the box, the new controls, everything to update your system to a newer style air conditioning. This is all new stuff. 134A is the new refrigerant. It's cooler. When you do your conversion, you got to convert the fittings, you got to change the dryer, you got to change the condenser, try to get as much of the old fluid out of it, or else it creates a problem. So it's better to replace a lot of the parts. A lot of the older cars, everything used to be hanging on the firewall. This just nice, tighter, cleaner, more efficient system, and it just disappears. You won't see it anymore. Everything's hidden underneath the dash, nice and clean. We got all the controls. We have your fan motor, you got the evaporator, you got your ducts for all your vents that are inside the car. Your heater runs through it. You got your drain tube. Everything is built into one box. You can actually get in your old hot rod and throw the air conditioning on, roll up the windows, go cruising. That's where it's at.
Check in next week for another Performance Playbook here at Bernie's. Now let's head back to the shop for the email question of the week.
John, Jeff from Charlotte, North Carolina emailed us this week with a 2010 Buick Enclave, and the AC is blowing warm. Now, he hooked the pressure gauges up to it, and on the high side, it sometimes shoots as high as 300 PSI. On the low side, down as low as 2 PSI. So where do we start?
Well, sounds like a restriction. And with that Buick, you got a TXV or an H-block thermostatic expansion valve system, and these get clogged up quite frequently. And it just goes through here, and if it's not passing through here, those are the readings you're going to get.
Yeah, and if you've got an orifice tube type of system, you can see a clean orifice tube, no problems there, everything's going to flow. Here's a worn one. Look at the difference. That would absolutely cause pressure imbalances in any type of AC system.
Yeah, and pressure readings are key. Take a look at this graphic. You can see the top left up there. Those are about normal readings. Moving over to the top right, you start creeping high on both sides, usually a restriction of airflow actually going across the condenser. Bottom left-hand side, that's what we had on our van. It was low, low on both sides. We were low on Freon. And then on the right bottom side, that's a good indication of a weak compressor. You got a high-low side and a low high side.
Yeah, it could get confusing for sure, but take your time. Those gauges tell you the truth. You know, the Quest van was really interesting because back at the back end of that van, it had its own AC system back there. And you might remember, right there is where we found the break in the line. It gets corroded, you hit bumps, those things wear out over time. So we tracked it down.
I'll tell you what, I put the gauge in afterwards. We took a reading. That thing was sitting at 40 degrees. It's running cold. I'm going to have a great trip to Wally World.
Happy kids make every trip a great trip. And don't forget, with any AC system, you've got to have the right type and the right amount of refrigerant so all these parts can do their job.
Yep, and oil as well. Hey, if you want to check out more about Tech Garage, check us out on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. And like always, thanks for watching Tech Garage, where we get you back on the road.
Keep it cool.